2016. Honorable Speaker, Mr. Akida is an inspirational personality who has gone beyond playing football and authored a book called Chained. The inspiring book details the challenges that she has had to surmount to realize the triumphs that she has made in the pursuit for football stardom against cultural expectations. It is on this basis, it is the basis of this spectacular achievement by Ms. Ese Akida, who is in the house today, that I sought your indulgence to recognize her and record my tribute in her honor in this august house. I thank you, Honorable Speaker. They said Mr. Akida is in the house, Honorable Speaker.
You may stand up, Mr. Akida, to be acknowledged. Congratulations, well done. Accompanying Ms. Akida, or in the company of Ms. Akida, is SCK Bishop of the Diocese of Malindi, Dr. Ruben Katile, Reverend Kashuru Joseph, Vicar General, and Lay Canon Kithi, the Treasurer to the Diocese. Welcome to the House of Parliament. Yes, Milemba?
Thank you, Honorable Speaker. As we acknowledge the presence and the achievements of Ms. Akida, who is in the House, I want to indicate that she is already an inspiration for the young girls. The sport, football, for girls in this country is not very old. It was introduced around 1995, 1993, thereabout. And currently it has actually surpassed the otherwise celebrated football for the men, which I happen to have played myself and one time called to the national team. I'm happy that the members of the Bunge FC who are in the House, including goalkeeper, member of parliament for, is it Borabu? Gituru Masava is in the House. We want to encourage the other girls who are actually practicing and playing football, that they be inspired by Ms. Akide, who has actually gone beyond the boundaries, and the sport football for girls can become the best, well beyond the one of the men, given that we lost the glory of the Mulambas, the Masigas, the Ubwakas, and the rest of us. Thank you, Honorable Speaker.
Irene Mayaka.
Thank you, Honorable Speaker. Honorable Speaker, let me also, as a soccer enthusiast, just acknowledge Akida for the fantastic job she has done, for even going ahead to write a book. And Akida is one of those girls from the Harambee Starlets who continue to inspire the girls in this country to play soccer. And Honorable Speaker, I just want to encourage the Bunge FC members who are here, that if you did not know, for the first time in Kenya, the women soccer under-17 team has taken Kenya to the World Cup, something that has never happened in this country. And that is because of the people like her who continue to inspire our girls. And I want to wish her the very best. And on my own behalf and on behalf of the other ladies, congratulations and thank you, Akida, and thank you for your book. You inspire us. Thank you.
Yes, Honorable Tandaza.
Asante sana Mheshimiwa Spika kwa fursa hii. Ningetaka nami niweze kutoa shukrani zangu na kongole kwa dada yetu kutoka Pwani Akida, ambaye ameweza kufika kiwango cha kimataifa. Hii ni kuonyesha kwamba talanta zipo kila mahali, hasa upande wa Pwani. Tukija kwa upande wa soka, ni mwezi tu uliopita tuliweza kupeleka kijana katika kampi kule Bomet ya mbio, na ametoka Pwani. Kwa hivyo ni vifaa ndio ambavyo vinakosekana, ni mafunzo ndio ambayo yanakosekana, lakini kwa ile njia ambayo dada yetu ametuonyesha, tuna imani kwamba Wapwani tutaweza kusaidia gurudumu la talanta katika ngazi za kimataifa, tukijua kwamba talanta ni ajira. Asante Mheshimiwa Spika, na kongole dada yetu Akida.
Nataka tufungie hapa. Kwa niaba ya bunge lote, Mama Akida, tunakushukuru sana kwa heshima ambayo umeiletea nchi yetu, na uendelee kusaidia wasichana wadogo wengine Kenya mzima ili waweze kunawiri talanta zao katika nyanza ya michezo hasa soka. Asante sana. Honorable Mohammed Abdikadir Lakdera. Member for Lakdera. Give him the mic.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker, for giving me this opportunity. I have a statement, a request for a statement regarding elephant invasions and sighting of lions in parts of the Lakdera constituency. Honorable Speaker, pursuant to the provision of Standing Order 44-2C, I wish to request for a statement from the Chairperson of the Developmental Committee on Tourism and Wildlife regarding the increased invasion of elephants and recent sightings of lions in parts of the Lakdera constituency. Mr. Speaker, Honorable Speaker, the rights in human-wildlife conflict currently being experienced in various parts of the Lakdera constituency is alarming. This has become an issue of urgent public concern, as it threatens the safety, well-being, and livelihood of local communities. There have been multiple dangerous encounters involving stray elephants and lions, which have already resulted in tragic loss of life and serious injuries. The first incident that was reported on 2nd of September 2024 involved a stray elephant at Maalami location, Tokuduk sub-location, which caused the death of a local resident, Mr. Khalif Jolo Kase, of ID number 2756-9468, and some goats. A second attack took place in Serbi area, Mdogasha Township, on 22nd September 2024, severely injuring Mr. Hassan Ibrahim and Mr. Muhammad Ibrahim. Honorable Speaker, additionally, on 10 September 2024, residents reported sightings of 2 stray lions in Madagascar and Eland areas. These lions seen within human settlements, where most of community and social economic activities, including livestock rearing, take place. The presence of these predators has created widespread fear, and they pose a direct threat to the lives of both residents and their livestock. Honorable Speaker, it's against this backdrop that I seek a statement from the chairperson of the Developmental Committee on Tourism and Wildlife on the following. 1. Immediate measures being taken by the Kenya Wildlife Service, KWS, and other relevant authorities to protect the lives of the affected residents and their livestock from further wildlife invasions. 2. Plans that are in place to mitigate future wildlife intrusions, especially areas prone to frequent wildlife movement, and immediate measures on how the government and relevant agencies will ensure the local communities are adequately protected from such dangers moving forward. 3. Clarity on the type of assistance and compensation that will be offered to the families of the deceased, those who have been injured, and those who lost livestock. And lastly, any plans on a broader wildlife management strategy being developed, if any specifically targeting communities living close to wildlife zones, to ensure that such conflicts are minimized in the future. Thank you, Honorable Speaker.
Chairman, Tourism. Abi Kareke. Vice Chair. Majority Leader. Where are your chairmen?
Honorable Speaker, some are not here, but we will make sure that they...
Inform them to bring a response in 2 weeks.
I will do that. Thank you.
Next order.
Order number 8, motion.
Hold on. Before the next order, allow me, members, to acknowledge the following schools in the public gallery. Kari Kamburi Secondary School from Tharakanithi, Tharakanithi. Mihuti Secondary School from Mathioya, Muranga. And the Withare Secondary School from Laikipia East, Laikipia. I've been asked by Honorable Murugara, MP Tharaka, to acknowledge a school from his constituency and
the others.
extend it to welcome the rest of the schools.
Thank you very much, Mr. Speaker. So, Speaker, allow me to welcome to the House Kamburi Secondary School and the other schools that are in the House this afternoon to observe the proceedings of the August House. This is the National Assembly, part of the Parliament of Kenya, and we are happy to see the youngsters who have come to see how we conduct business in this House. It is important that they actually learn because they are the future leaders, they are the leaders of tomorrow, and they'll be coming over to succeed us when our time to exit comes, and they have to come in and continue with the work being done. Kamburi Secondary School is one of the youngest secondary schools in the Raka constituency. They do very well, both academically and in sports, and I'm proud to host them here today so that them and the rest of the team can actually see how the August House works. With those remarks, I do welcome the schools and wish them a very happy stay in the House and in Nairobi as they continue with their learning tour. Thank you, Mr. Speaker.
Thank you, Honorable House and myself. We welcome the schools, the students, and their teachers to the House of Parliament. Yes, Clive, is it about pardon?
Statement.
Go ahead.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. I'm rising to do a follow-up on a statement that I sought on 24th April in regard to the status of the Kenya Digital Economy Acceleration Project funded by the World Bank. Mr. Speaker, I would like the chairman, Honorable Kiarie, to listen because I was promised that the response will be brought to this House after 2 weeks. Honorable Speaker, after 3 months with no response, I again rose on a point of order reminding the House that there's a statement that has not been responded to. Again, the chair, Honorable Kiarie, promised that in 1.5 weeks, he was going to give a response in this House. Honorable Speaker, I'm rising up against 2 months later to remind him that his 2 weeks are yet to lapse. Honorable Speaker, this is a weighty issue because this is money that was meant for last mile connectivity on the ICT. 390 million US dollars. That money, Mr. Speaker, either has vanished or simply is supposed to be given. Can I be informed whether there is a response or there is no response so that I restructure the question now with more facts and present them to this House? Thank you, Mr. Speaker.
There's no provision under which you can restructure your question or request for a statement. KJ, from April to now, is inordinately long.
Mr. Speaker, I do acknowledge that, yes, the request was made on the 28th of May. We channeled it to the ministry. And Mr. Speaker, I can say there was great delay from the response that we were expecting from the ministry. However, on the 3rd of September, we received a response, Mr. Speaker. And you do tell us that committees are here to work. The committee considered the response that we got from the ministry. And Mr. Speaker, it was not a report that we were ready to table in the House, Mr. Speaker, in the form and style that it was in. So what we have asked the clerk of the committee to do is to have the report that has come already to be scheduled, to be presented to the House, but at the same time, we have also sought the specificities that we thought were lacking from the response from the ministry. So these two processes are going on concurrently. There is a response that we feel is insufficient and inadequate to respond to the question raised, but we also feel that the ministry ought to offer more specificities to the responses that they have given as a committee, and I want to assure the Honorable Clive that we do take that issue very seriously. It goes to the core of the Kenya Super Digital Highway project, and if answered properly, it will be for the benefit of all members in this House. So, Mr. Speaker, we have an insufficient report, It's already being channeled through the systems, but as they are doing that, there are some specificities that we are still seeking from the ministry. I thank you for your magnanimity, Mr. Speaker.
Order, members at the bar. Order. Members conducting an illegal kamkunji in the chamber. KJ, that explanation is inadequate. The right thing to do, if you get a response from the ministry that is, in your opinion, inadequate, bring it to the House and seek the permission of the chair to go back and get more information. Secondly, you also have a duty, if the response is inadequate, to inform your colleague who requested for a statement that you have an answer which in your view does not address all the issues. You need to go back and get more information. Thirdly, is available to you to summon the ministry, the minister and his team or her team, to come before you and invite the questioner to also attend so that you can deal with the issues. But waiting from April to now is unacceptable.
Mr. Speaker, I want to confirm to the House that we have actually taken the course of action that you are directing. I have members of the committee here. I can see Honorable Kivasu, Mheshimiwa Irene Mayaka. They can bear me witness that we have actually okayed the report, even in its inadequate form, be brought to the floor of the House so that even as the process of seeking the specificities is going on, we can still be able to present. Mr. Speaker, I have also had occasion to have a one-on-one engagement with the Honorable Clive, and I have informed him of the situation. And again, the members of the Committee of CII can bear me witness that the committee has decided to actually call the minister before the committee so that he can put the record straight specifically about this issue that has been laid by Clive. So, Honorable Speaker, we have followed the course of action that you do recommend. Thank you very much, Mr. Speaker.
Thank you. Honorable members, after putting questions at orders 8 and 9, Majority Leader arranged to bring in the minister who is coming to respond to questions this afternoon. Next order.
Order number 8, motion. Report on the consolidated fund services expenditures for the supplementary estimates 1 for the financial year 2024-2025. Question to be put.
Honorable Maungu, take the nearest seat. Honorable members, I now put the question at order number 8, which is that this House adopts the report of the Public Debt and Privatization Committee on its consideration of the consolidated fund services for the supplementary estimates 1 for financial year 2024-2025, laid on the table of the House on Wednesday, 24th July 2024. As members of that opinion say aye. Will those of the contrary opinion say nay? The ayes have it. Next order.
Order number 9, motion. Public petition on funds spent on contrary to the provisions of Article 223 of the Constitution. Question to be put.
Let me put the question. Members on their feet, take your seats. Thank you. Honorable members, I now put the question at order number 9, which is that this House adopts the report of the Public Petitions Committee on its consideration of public petition number 4 of 2022 regarding funds spent by the national government contrary to the provisions of Article 223 of the Constitution, laid on the table of the House on Tuesday, 12th March 2024. As members of that opinion say aye. Will those of the contrary opinion say nay? The ayes have it. Next. Who moved the coffee bill? Mutunga, is he here in the House? Call the next order.
Order number 10, the coffee bill, Senate Bill number 10 of 2023, second reading. Mover to reply.
Mutunga, can you reply?
Thank you, Honourable Speaker, for the opportunity to reply to the coffee bill. Honourable Speaker, members in this House are declaring the importance of coffee in this country as an important crop grown in 33 counties of Kenya, and occupying about 800,000 farmers in small scale and also more than 4,000 estates. Honourable Speaker, the bill recognizes the industry and bestows responsibilities to the various governments, responsibilities to the county government, responsibilities to the national government, responsibilities to the Coffee Board of Kenya, and the Coffee Research and Training Institute, among others. Honourable Speaker, farmers are waiting for this bill. They're waiting for the law on coffee to be able to ease the problems that have been there for a while, because this is really a valuable crop to them. Having passed through the Senate, Honourable Speaker, this bill is right at the tail end to have a law on coffee that basically expunges coffee from the Agriculture and Food Authority and sets its own authority is important. Honourable Speaker, in conclusion, at the point of the committee of the whole House, the Committee on Agriculture and Livestock of the National Assembly will be bringing in some amendments, and also the members, some private members will also be bringing in an amendment to make this law sharper and better for Kenyans. Honourable Speaker, I beg to reply.
Member for Lagdera, take your seat. Honourable members, I now put the question at order number 10, which is that the coffee bill, Senate Bill number 10 of 2023, be now read a second time. As members of that opinion say aye. Aye. Those of the contrary opinion say nay. The ayes have it.
A bill for an act of parliament to provide for the establishment of the Coffee Board of Kenya and the Coffee Research and Training Institute, the roles of the national and county governments, the regulation, development, and promotion of the coffee industry, and for connected purposes.
Honourable members, we'll go back to order number 7. We have in the House the CS for Minister of Youth Affairs, Creative Economy and Sports to respond to questions as listed out on the order paper. Minister, welcome to the House. And you, Majority Leader, who are the owners of these questions? Minister, there will be no individual members asking the 3 listed questions, 4 actually, A, B, C, and D. So I'll invite you to respond to all the issues raised. Then thereafter, I'll invite members to seek clarification or ask additional questions, if any. You may go ahead. And since this is your first appearance since your dismissal and reappointment, your congratulations on behalf of the House. And we hope that you'll continue like you did in the last term, cooperating with the House and appearing whenever you are requested to appear or summoned to appear. You're one of the ministers who never fail to appear when you are called to this House.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker.
Go ahead.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Mr. Speaker, thank you very much for the invitation, but also to appreciate you for congratulating me and to thank the House for approving my appointment, being my first time also to come in to this chamber since being reappointed. It's always exciting to be here, Mr. Speaker, and a privilege, really a great privilege, knowing that many Kenyans would have had an opportunity to appear before such august House. Mr. Speaker, I was asked about 4 questions as you've mentioned, so maybe for purpose of the Hansard, I will restate them and then just respond. Mr. Speaker, the first question was, we appraised the state of the preparedness of the country in terms of infrastructure, facilities, and other logistics to successfully host international sports events, more specifically the planned hosting of Africa Nations Championship, which is CHAN, and Africa Cup of Nations. I want to say, Mr. Speaker, that the Ministry of Youth Affairs, Creative Economy and Sports, through Sports Kenya, embarked on a number of sports infrastructure projects during the 2nd, 3rd, and 4th medium-term plan of the 2013 to 2017, 2018 to 2022, and 2022 to 2027, respectively. We are aligned to the National Vision 2030 and the Kenya Kwanza Government Manifesto. Kenya, Uganda, and Tanzania have jointly secured hosting rights for Africa Cup of Nations 2027 and also a soccer championship, Mr. Speaker, known as the CHAN 2025, which is Total Africa Nations Championship, leading to targeted upgrading of some facilities in compliance with the requirements of the championship. The bid was awarded to the 3 countries by the Executive Committee of Confederation of African Football on 27th of September 2023. The Cabinet approved it to host the sports event on 3rd of October 2023. And Mr. Speaker, on the 15th of September 2024, I was privileged to host the CAF president who visited the country to assess Kenya preparedness to host the CHAN and Africa Cup of Nations 2027. And I'm glad to inform you that the CAF president expressed satisfaction with the progress we have made thus far. Mr. Speaker, on the sports infrastructure development, the minister developed a master plan and categorized the infrastructure development in the country into the following categories. First is that international stadia shall be stadia that have category 4 status, which is over 30,000 seating capacity. There shall be also national stadia, category 3A, which shall have 15,000 to 30,000 seating capacity. Then we have what we call regional or county stadia with category of 10,000 to 15,000 seating capacity. Then there will be community grounds with category A of 5,000 and below capacity, and there is also a community ground, between 5,000 and 10,000, and there are also smaller community grounds who have seating capacity of below 5,000 people. Currently, development and refurbishment of these projects have been prioritized into the following categories as follows. We have the AFCON projects, and we have the ongoing projects, and then, of course, future planned projects. Mr. Speaker, insofar as preparation of Africa Cup of Nations and the African Championship, Mr. Speaker, there are 3 very important pieces of infrastructure, starting with a new stadium that is being constructed at Jamhuri along Gong Road in Nairobi, which is Talanta Sports City. This stadium, Mr. Speaker, shall have a seating capacity of 60,000 and is expected to be completed December 2025. The stadium, Mr. Speaker, will be accompanied by 3 grounds, which are training grounds within the Talanta Sports City, 2 with running track, and another 1 football pitch, which shall be shared with the rugby. Mr. Speaker, as a result of this construction, we will then move, for purpose of Africa Cup of Nations, the Nyayo National Stadium shall be categorized as a training ground for purpose of the Africa Cup of Nations. So the Talanta Stadium will be the main stadium, and the Africa and the training ground will be Nyayo Stadium. Mr. Speaker, as we speak now, we know that this is a new project. Groundbreaking was done on 31st of March this year. The progress so far is 23%. The works are ongoing, and we are delivering this together with the Ministry of Defense, who are the contracted agency of the Ministry of Sports. Mr. Speaker, the other stadium is the Moi International Sports Center, Kasarani. As is being renovated, Mr. Speaker, it shall now be a 55,000-seater capacity, and the expected date of completion, Mr. Speaker, is December this year. The main works that are being done to refurbish the stadium is installation of new roof, Mr. Speaker, that will have a greater enclosure of the stadium, 30 meters around the stadium, installation of seats, upgrading of flood lighting to what is called 3,000 lux, expansion of the VIP pavilion, refurbishment of the football pitch, installation and installation of access controls, audio visual systems, sound, VAR, and CCTV to the stadium, and the upgrading of the changing rooms, doping control and medical rooms, upgrading of the press and media center, Mr. Speaker. The works are ongoing now. I have gone there to supervise the progress twice, and the roof was being fabricated off-site, and it's been delivered now. It's on its way to Kasarani and to be delivered and installed. Again, this is urgent because this is the stadium that we shall use for CHAN next year, which is February. Mr. Speaker, on the training grounds related to the Moi International Sports Center, Kasarani, we have 2 pitches at the Kenya Academy of Sports ground, and Mr. Speaker, we intend to also eventually to make Kirigiti Stadium to become a training ground for purpose of Moi International Sports Center, Kasarani, Africa Cup of Nations hosting in 2027. The sites, all these training grounds have been handed over to contractor and is currently mobilizing for that purpose. Mr. Speaker, the works, as I said, will be completed by December this year. Mr. Speaker, the third facility for purpose of AFCON is the Kipchoge Keino Stadium with a capacity of 15,000-seater. Expected completion date was initially, Mr. Speaker, is actually December 2025. There was a slow process of contracting, but we believe the contractor can put more effort to make sure that December 2025, Kipchoge Keino Stadium will have been constructed with the international capacity. The main works are roofing, installation of VVIP and VIP seats, upgrading of flood lighting to 3,000 lux, refurbishment of the football pitch, installation of access control of the visual system, sound, VAR, CCTV, upgrading of changing rooms, doping control, and medical rooms. The project was commissioned and site handed over in August this year, and contractor is currently on site, ready to continue with the work. There's also, as part of the works, upgrading of the press conference and the media center, and upgrading the perimeter wall and replacement of the tartan track to make it international. Mr. Speaker, as part of the training grounds of the Kipchoge Stadium, we shall be commissioning works on Kapsabet Stadium, Eldoret National Polytechnic grounds, and 64 Stadium two of whom which are in Uasin Gishu, and the other is in Nandi County. Mr. Speaker, for part of CHAN projects, Mr. Speaker, initially, Kenya, Uganda, and Tanzania, after bidding for CHAN, the ministry established and identified the following stadia to host CHAN. That was Masinde Muliro, Kandui Stadium, Buhungu Stadium, and Nyayo National Stadium. However, when CAF inspectors visited the country, the above facilities, they recommended that only Moi International Sports Center, Kasarani, and the Nyayo National Stadium shall be eligible to host this very important tournament. And therefore, Mr. Speaker, as far as Nyayo Stadium is concerned, Nyayo is going to be 18,000-seater. It's actually an 18,000-seater stadium. And Mr. Speaker, initially we were told to change the football pitch, but we have had good consultations and agreement that the grass which is there is sufficient for us for CHAN preparations, so that we don't delay the works towards CHAN. So therefore, some work will go to roofing, installation of VVIP seats, upgrading of flood lighting to 3,000 slugs, installation of access control, visual system, sound, VR and CCTV, upgrading of changing rooms and doping control and medical rooms, part of which has already been done, upgrading of press conference and media center, which is also done, and upgrading the perimeter wall, and the replacement of the tartan track. Mr. Speaker, as part of the Nyayo National Stadium being the facility, Police Sacco Stadium and Ulinzi Stadium shall be the training facility, and the works will be done to make sure that they are up to standard as training facilities. So, Speaker, the second part of this question focuses on the condition of the key sports facilities in the country, including the maintenance, modernization, sustainability of hosting international events, and as may say, also national events. Mr. Speaker, and honorable members, here below is a breakdown of current conditions of key sport facilities in the country. We have about 12 stadia that had been promised from the time the Jubilee administration came to office in 2013, and some of whom have become monuments of shame across the country because there were promises that are yet to be kept. And some of these stadia include Kinoru Stadium in Meru, Kirubia Stadium in Tharaka Nithi, Marsabit Stadium in Marsabit County, Kamarin Stadium in Elgeyo Marakwet County, Ruringu Stadium in Nyeri County, Wote Stadium in Makwiny, Karatu Stadium in Kiambu, Buhungu Stadium in Kakamega, Masinde Muliro Kandui Stadium in Bungoma, and Kirikiti Stadium in Kiambu, Jomo Kenyatta Stadium in Kisumu County, and Wanguru Stadium in Kirinyaga County. Mr. Speaker, let me start with Kinoru in Meru. The overall completion of the Kinoru Stadium is 99%. It is 15,000-seater stadium, a FIFA standard football pitch, a borehole and associated water storage facilities, generator, electrical and mechanical works, subbase for 8-lane track. We have a VIP lounge and athletes changing rooms and so forth, and CCTV installation. Mr. Speaker, this is 99% done. And Mr. Speaker, there are a bit of concerns here, which makes it the 1% that needs to be completed and for the stadium to be used as it ought to be for national FIFA events and other athletics events. Kirubia Stadium, Mr. Speaker, again, this is the overall completion of this project is 99%. It's a 2,000-seater pavilion, FIFA standard football field, a borehole and associated water storage, electrical and mechanical works, and 6-lane tracks with field and event facilities. The project is practically complete. However, there is a need to expand the VIP holding rooms and presidential dais, which was not in the original specs. Further, we have asked Sports Kenya to collaborate with Kenya School of TVET to review the design and bill of quantities and advise on the budget requirement to facilitate the completion of that remaining part of the stadium. The Marsabit Stadium in Marsabit County is estimated to be 85% complete. It's a 15,000-seater stadium for full design scope and current scope of 6,000 seater, a FIFA standard football field, boundary wall with gates, a borehole and associated water storage facilities, car park area, electrical works, headland track with field events facilities. The Sports Kenya scope was completed by, the scope for Sports Kenya national government for that matter was completed on 30th May 2022, save for the pitch which was varied from natural grass to synthetic turf. Construction of VIP pavilion by the county government stalled with glaring structural integrity shortfalls. The State Department of Roads conducted integrity tests and have submitted a report. I have directed Sports Kenya to work with Kenya School of TVET to review the recommendation on advice on cost for the re-advertisement of the works that are remaining, and the works will be undertaken by Sports Kenya to complete and restore and retrofit the areas, Mr. Speaker, that were actually left out. Kamarin Stadium in Elgeyo Marakwet County, Mr. Speaker, this is the most talked about project and the most source of embarrassment when it comes to sports stadia. The initial completion rate was 35%. It shall be a 15,000-seater stadium for full design scope with FIFA standard football field, a borehole and associated water storage facility, electrical mechanical works, and we intend to construct 8-lane tracks with field events facilities. This was identified to be an important facility for sports training, Mr. Speaker. For the benefit of this House, it hosts 3,000 athletes in the country, Mr. Speaker, and it has extreme importance, this stadium, to that effect. The project contract was terminated. The scope has been then integrated to the prototype designs that have been prepared by the School of TVET. The project is to be re-advertised based on those prototype provisions that have been given. And Mr. Speaker, under the new design, it will also have a 100-bed capacity hostel for training for athletes especially. Mr. Speaker, Ruringu Stadium in Nyeri has an overall completion status of 75%. Mr. Speaker, initially it was with a 2,000-seater pavilion, which was the objective then, a FIFA standard football field, a borehole and associated water storage facilities, electrical and mechanical works, headland tracks with field event capacity, and VIP lift. Mr. Speaker, the contract also, the same contractor with the contractor for Elgeyo Marakwet County, Kamarin Stadium, was also terminated. And Mr. Speaker, the scope has been integrated in the prototype designs developed by the School of TVET. The project will be re-advertised, Mr. Speaker, afresh, and using the new designs, we will deliver at least a 10,000 seater capacity of a stadium, Mr. Speaker, and that is our objective. On Wote Stadium, Mr. Speaker, the overall completion status of Wote Stadium, 65% of the following scope of works: 1,500-seater pavilion, 8-lane tracks with field events facilities, a FIFA standard football field, a boundary wall with gates and borehole and associated water storage facilities. Original site was changed by the county government, causing delay in commencement of work. The new site had topographical, geological challenges necessitating variations to stabilize the ground, which was unstable on the western side of the field. We have asked Sports Kenya to integrate to the prototype design developed by School of TVET so that we can also deliver the same. Mr. Speaker, Karatu Stadium in Kiambu, the overall completion status now is 90%. As a matter of fact, I will be visiting Karatu Stadium on Friday, Mr. Speaker, because our intention is to take over the stadium by the end of October, which is on 30th October 2024. The stadium is 1,500-seater pavilion, a FIFA standard football field, a borehole and associated water storage facilities, electrical mechanical works, and 6-lane track with field events facilities. On the Masinde Muliro Kandui Stadium, Mr. Speaker, construction of 10,000-seater terraces, associated mechanical, electrical works, and civil works, roofing, installation of seats. The expected completion date of this project, so far, Mr. Speaker, it's 90% complete, this project, with roof works construction ongoing. And Mr. Speaker, it is expected that it will be completed on December 2024. Phase 2 of the roofing scope is expected to be completed on 24th October of 2024, which is next month. Mr. Speaker, Bugungu Stadium is construction of southern terrace, changing of rooms and roofing. Completion of the stadium works started in March 2023. Progress is only 20%, and contract signed, and work is ongoing. Our duty is to make sure that we push for faster completion of the project. The 10th stadium, Mr. Speaker, is Kirigiti Stadium in Kiambu County. This stadium, Mr. Speaker, again, I visited last week, and I have given firm instructions that, Mr. Speaker, it must be completed and handing over by the end of next month, so that, Mr. Speaker, had we completed and finished the Kirigiti Stadium, we will not be struggling at the moment to see where we will host the CHAN. And this will be, of course, we had a deadline of end of this year, but Mr. Speaker, I'm trying my best to make sure that by end of October, we are done with the Kirigiti Stadium. Mr. Speaker, Jomo Kenyatta Stadium in Kisumu was completed and handed over to the county government of Kisumu. Mr. Speaker, Wanguru Stadium, Kirinyaga County, was also completed. It's only remaining handing over ceremony, Mr. Speaker, to the county government. And not just a ceremony, but also with an agreement on how maintenance will be done by the county government with a properly signed MOU. Mr. Speaker, the ministry is consulting with the county governments through Council of Governors on the management framework upon handing over stadia to respective counties. Mr. Speaker, the third part of the question is, what are the specific measures or strategies put in place by the ministry to accelerate the completion of stalled or incomplete stadia across the country? Mr. Speaker, the ministry, through collaboration with the School of TVET, has developed a prototype design, and builds of quantities for different categories of stadia. As I read earlier, 20,000, 15,000, up to 20,000, up to 15, up to 10, and up to 5,000 seater. We are reviewing the design and bill of quantities for completion of all stalled and incomplete stadia, as I read earlier. And Mr. Speaker, I have only given my team another 2 weeks. We review and start processes of paying whatever is pending. Then we can make sure that we complete this pending stadium. We do not want, again, another round of lamentations as to why we have stalled the projects. Mr. Speaker, the minister has also rationalized the budget requirement to ensure adequate funds for completion of all ongoing projects. The ministry has continued to engage with the National Treasury to prioritize the infrastructure development, and we request the National Assembly to support construction of infrastructure through budgetary allocation for adequate financing mechanism. Mr. Speaker, in every budget that is read in this country, as we speak now, we do not have a single allocation from the budget for construction of any stadium. And I request this House, as we look at many other priorities in the country, sports facilities become part of your priority areas. Mr. Speaker, this is geared for timely realization of the CHAN, as I said, and also the Africa Cup of Nations. We are exploring ways of collaborating with the private sector to enable them construct modern sports infrastructure. The ongoing review of the sports policy will provide clarity on this matter, Mr. Speaker. We are reviewing the sports policy to know how best the private sector can do the stadium. As a matter of fact, I think that government should not be owning stadia. That is my personal position. All over the world, governments don't own stadiums. It is costing a lot of money to the taxpayer without any much return. But if it was owned by private sector, they would commercialize it, and then it would be available for sports activities. A country like UK, the only stadium that is owned by government is Wembley. The rest is owned by private companies, and they're always available for sports facilities. And this is the way to go. PPP and other modalities must be applied to make sure that these stadiums are maintained well, so that not after every 10 years we are putting billions of money to refurbish facilities that should have been income generating, Mr. Speaker. Mr. Speaker, the last part of the question, or the second last part of the question, was how do we facilitate measures that we put in place to ensure timely preparation, coordination, management, and facilitation of teams to represent the country in various disciplines. Mr. Speaker and honorable members, the Ministry of Youth Affairs, Creative Economy and Sports has a key responsibility of supporting teams to represent Kenya in international competition in various disciplines. The ministry usually enters the teams in international competition held outside the country and also while hosting competitions here in Kenya. The ministry has put in place the following measures to ensure that our teams are well prepared, managed, coordinated during these games. First, the ministry has put in place funding request mechanism, which has been shared and sensitized to the sports federations. Federations submit their requirement for next financial year by 31st of December every year, 6 months before the start of the financial year. The ministry compiles an annual work plan which captures the events as per ministry priorities for the next each financial year. Federations thereafter submit an itemized budget to the Department of Sports for their respective activity competitions 2 months before the start of the activities. Department then evaluates and rationalizes budgets and forwards the same to the Principal Secretary for approval. In the approvals, the ministry ensures that the teams are provided for to attend local training camps for at least 7 days to prepare adequately for the competition. For major events, the training is longer and may include training abroad to access suitable favorable competition conditions, just like the Olympics and the World Cup by our young girls. The budget ensures that the teams are appropriately and well kitted for their respective competitions. The female teams are kitted to take care of their special needs and requirements, and the teams with disabilities are done the same. On request, the teams are also facilitated to acquire specialized equipment for training and competition in line with their respective sports. The players and officials are provided with local training allowances and foreign allowances during the competition days to incentivize the players. The teams are equally provided with travel insurances and medical covers to take care of injuries during competition and any further injuries that may go beyond the competition period. The teams traveling outside the country are accompanied by technical officers from the ministry to ensure their safety, proper welfare, and for proper reporting and feedback for each event. For teams comprising of ladies and minors, the ministry ensures that they are accompanied by chaperones and safeguarding officers to ensure athletes' safety at all times. After competitions, the athletes who excel are rewarded with cash awards as provided in the Cash Award Honor Scheme. This meant to encourage and monetize their effort during competition. In conclusion, our ministry is committed to ensuring that our teams are well prepared, well facilitated to participate in international competitions. Their good performance helps to raise the profile of our country and that of the athletes. We shall continuously revise, Mr. Speaker, our support to the teams as and when we need arise to ensure that we meet the necessary standards for our team's continued excellence in international competitions. Mr. Speaker, the next part of the question is the mandate of Kenya Academy of Sports. The Kenya Academy, Mr. Speaker, in line with the mandate of the Sports Talent Development, Kenya Academy of Sports has over the years undertaken various programs and activities aimed at identifying and growing sports talents at the grassroots. They include 1 sports camps, Mr. Speaker. The Academy has so far provided training to 3,457 talented children and youth in different sports disciplines through sports camps in football, tennis, volleyball, basketball, rugby, hockey, swimming, deaf basketball, chess, netball, and table tennis, among others, are summarized in the table below, Mr. Speaker. Mr. Speaker, and I've attached the table. I do not need to read it again, Mr. Speaker. And then, Mr. Speaker, number 2 is athlete scholarships. The Academy awarded a scholarship to, among others, Mr. Speaker, specifically on this one, to Selfa Ojiambo, a talented but very needy and vulnerable girl who was the 100-meter champion in 2000 primary school games. The Academy admitted the girl in St. Catherine's Nainga Girls and, Mr. Speaker, engaged her in training. In March 2023, as a result of the same, just as an example, Salfa won gold for Kenya in the 400 meters times by 100 relay in under 18 girls in Dar es Salaam, Tanzania. In April 2023, she was placed in the 4x4 relay team for Zambia, where she was number 3 in the finals. Mr. Speaker, this is just one example of some of the scholarships that have been given. We facilitate training An academy facilitates training for athletes in various sports disciplines, including football, basketball, volleyball, hockey, and tennis. Mr. Speaker, collaborative training, the academy supports the following sports organizations to organize tournaments. The chess tournament, Mr. Speaker, that was organized here in Nairobi with 500 chess players participating. Martial arts tournament in Meru, where over 200 youth participated. Tong Il Mo Du Kenya tournament in Mombasa. Little League based in Meru, where 200 youth were involved in the games. The American Buffaloes baseball team, who organized an American Independence Day baseball tournament in Kasarani. Celebration of UNESCO International Day, among others. There are a number of activities. Development of curriculum to guide sports training, the academy has already developed a curriculum of 6 sport disciplines, which is football, basketball, cricket, athletics, volleyball, golf, and motorsport. There is mental skills training and psychosocial support for athletes when they are going for international events, as listed. Mr. Speaker, the sports talent development and training framework has been prepared by the academy, and the objective of this framework is to provide guidelines for selection and training of athletes and sports technical personnel, establish criteria for academy engagement and management of trainers, provide standards for establishment and management of sports facility equipment and training materials. Mr. Speaker, provide implementation of structure to sport talent development and training of the training at the academy. The academy also organizes, Mr. Speaker, national sports talent camps, and it has done a number of them from 2023. Mr. Speaker, which helped in identifying nurture sports talent, provide opportunities for scouting of local and talent and for local and foreign clubs, to promote positive specialization integration, and instill life skills and mentorship training. We have also the program of Talanta Hela football tournament that was successfully organized last year, Mr. Speaker, and hopefully we'll do the same also this year. And Mr. Speaker, this is meant to nurture talent, particularly the first one was focused on football. And Mr. Speaker, the idea was to prepare our team for Africa Cup of Nations come 2027. And it gives opportunity to young people to expose their soccer talents, Mr. Speaker, in preparation for this tournament, and so that the coaches and the technical staff can be able to scout the best talent. And as a result of the same, last year games, that is how we got some of our girls who are now going for the World Cup in the Dominican Republic, Mr. Speaker, who have succeeded in that endeavor. Mr. Speaker, we are asking for these achievements, among others, notwithstanding the academy is yet to realize full potential, hindered by various factors. Mr. Speaker, I really want to challenge to look at what exactly they give the academy and what they expect. If you look at the budget for this financial year, last year, the academy was allocated, they requested 530 million for 2023-2024, and they were given 280 million. Mr. Speaker, this year, this financial year, the academy requested 600 million, and they were given 0. Mr. Speaker, there is a pattern that is developing and that I've witnessed. Now that I'm serving in a second ministry, Mr. Speaker, I can do proper comparison. You will find that in this ministry, Mr. Speaker, largely all the agencies are ignored. You are aware that, and related to this, but not in the question itself, ADAC, which is dealing with anti-doping, was also given, at the request of 300 million, they were given 20 million, Mr. Speaker, to the protestation of the International Anti-Doping Agency. There is, and I want to implore through you, Mr. Speaker, this House, that let us put our money where our loudest mouth is, in the sense that as a country, we really like sports, like cheering our athletes, we like our footballers, we do all that. But we are happy to sit as executive and as legislature here to give 0 to athletes, to sports people. I think, Mr. Speaker, it should prick our conscience and rethink about how we are handling sports and sports facilities. No wonder, Mr. Speaker, the potential of sports in this country has never been realized as it should, because you cannot, Mr. Speaker, reap where you do not sow. With zero money allocated to sports of academy, you get zero. That's why you see the academy, Mr. Speaker, is reporting one scholarship, and they really want to report in a big detail one person. We can actually do more if we have proper resources in that regard. Mr. Speaker, I do not, of course, want to mention what the state departments get, both youth and sports, because it is laughable. Mr. Speaker, there is inadequate staff level, Mr. Speaker, at the academy. We have 36 staff against the establishment of 155. There is also lack of training facilities. We are only focusing on one facility in Kasarani. Mr. Speaker, we need more facilities to be able to, for the academy to be able to support sports. Mr. Speaker, the academy has also developed a digital hub, a talent hub for online talent identification, where if you establish or you identify a talent anywhere in the country, it is sent to that digital hub. But Mr. Speaker, we have audited and realized it is inadequate because it's using, Mr. Speaker, very basic technology. Properly working talent search technology uses artificial intelligence, where the information is sent to the site and it automatically identifies the quality and the talents of students. If you look at Premier League, for those who follow football, you realize that the Premier League teams are now using modern technology. People just send skills all over the world, and it helps in talent search. It also helps in identification of talented sports people. Mr. Speaker, as I conclude, the Kenya Academy of Sports here to establish sports training academies across the country, because I needed to contextualize that is the question of how many talent academies do we have across the country. The Kenya Academy of Sports here to establish sports training academies across the country due to inadequate resources. Construction of the headquarters in Kasarani is still ongoing. Plans are on advanced stage to establish 30 sports training academies across the country during the current financial year. And Mr. Speaker, for the next 3 years, the plan is to, this year 30, next year, resources permitting, we do 90 academies, and 2026, 2027, another 90, and then 2027, 2028, we should reach a total of 290 academies, which is one academy per constituency. Mr. Speaker, the academy endeavors to continue fulfilling its mandate of sports talent identification and development, capacity building of sports technical personnel, and conducting sports research. This will be achieved through athlete identification, nurturing and development of programs, conducting coaching and refereeing courses, and provisions of sport training equipment to athletes and the teams across in the grassroots. To ensure the continuity of this program, the Academy will strive to work with stakeholders, including Ministry of Education, county governments, sports federations, Kenya primary and secondary school associations in the development of sports talent. I thank you, Mr. Speaker.
Thank you, CS. Members, you've had a very clear, elaborate explanation from the Minister on the issues at hand. Carolo Mondi, take the first 5, then you respond.
Thank you very much, Right Honorable Speaker. And I would like to warmly welcome the good minister back to the House and also back to the Cabinet. But I have a follow-up question, and I would like to hear from the minister regarding the sports academies, the Kenya Academy of Sports. This is the only institution we have that offers camps, scholarships, training, both to the technical people, administrators, as well as sportsmen, and assists various groups organize tournaments, as he has said. And as he has rightly pointed out, we have had this concern in the Sports Committee. Kenya Academy of Sports received 0 allocation in this financial year against our recommendations. And ADAC, which is the vanguard of the integrity of our athleticism as a country, also just got 20%, barely enough to cover the admin costs. So I would like to hear from the minister that there are no proposals to wind up these 2 institutions. We are very worried. It seems like there is a clear plan to fold Kenya Academy of Sports, as well as to undermine the operations of ADAC. And we would like to hear from him if he could assure this House that there are no such plans, and if he could also elaborate to this House what plans he has to ring-fence proceeds of the sports fund, which are clearly supposed to support sports, for these two institutions in the supplementary budget that will be coming to this House. Is it in October or November? I think in October. Thank you very much, Honorable Speaker.
Thank you, Honorable Speaker. Let me also commend the CS for those very elaborate answers. But Honorable CS, I see you have completed a number of stadia in some like Wanguru, Jomo Kenyatta Stadium in Kisumu County, which you say you have completed and handed over to the county government. Kirigiti Stadium in Kiambu County, you say you hand it over at the end of October. Wanguru Stadium, the same, is awaiting signing of MOU and handover. My concern, CS, is once you hand over this stadia to the county governments, the government of Kenya has invested billions in some of these stadia, and I have the case in mind of Kirigiti Stadium. What measures is your ministry taking to ensure that those stadia will not be run down out of poor management by the county government? I don't know whether the MOUs you are entering into with the counties include an oversight mechanism by the ministry to ensure that you maintain a certain standard and level of our regional and international stadia. Because, for instance, Kirigiti is a stadia that could also be used for some of the international games under AFCON and CHAN. But if we leave them to many of our county governments, they will be run down in a year or two. They will look like community grounds with no seats, with tartan torn, the football pitches not usable, goalposts looted and sold to scrap metal dealers. I would really want to hear what measures you have to ensure that there are even penalties to county governments, to ensure that there is a mechanism where you are able to periodically check the status of each of the stadia that have been developed by the national government, that they are maintained at the same standard. And any county government that is not able to maintain, then you must have a recourse measure to ensure that that stadia can revert back to the national government and the sports stadia to manage if as a particular county government is not able to manage and maintain the required standards. Thank you.
Mayaka.
Thank you, Honorable Speaker, and thank you to the CS for giving us elaborate responses. I have a follow-up question on the question on elaborate preparation for our national teams. And the question I want to ask is, the other day we had the beach kabaddi team that was going for World Cup that got really delayed in terms of their travel. And one of the complaints that came out from them was that on the day that they were actually traveling for World Cup is the same day that it was beginning. Why weren't they given priority? And the second part of that is in terms of the FKF elections, which is very close to the CHAN championship. And I just want to know, with this very close proximity, are we really ready to have the elections and also ensure that we do have CHAN with the FKF being properly involved? Thank you.
Zamzam.
Asante sana, Mheshimiwa Spika. Swali langu kwa waziri, tunajua FKF karibuni watakuwa wanapiga kura zao. Nataka nikuulize, watawezaje kupiga kura bila kuwa na appeals committee? Na kwa nini ile board ya uchaguzi iko katika himaya katika wale ambao wanawania katika sehemu yake? Ni kama vile president anataka kura lakini ile IBC iko ndani ya State House. Itakuwaje uchaguzi wa haki? Na kisha nikuulize, kanuni vipi ambazo umeweka kuhakikisha kuwa ile standard ya FIFA imefuatwa kwa mpango wake? Na mwisho, Mheshimiwa Waziri, huku mashinani watoto wamekuwa wakicheza mpira, lakini hao watoto wanachangiwa kama maskini. Watoto wanatoka Mombasa wataka kuja Nairobi kwenye tournament, wanachangiwa mpaka saa zingine sehemu ya kulala inakuwa shida wanaenda kulala kwenye mavaranda. Sasa mimi nauliza, kama tunakuza talanta, mbona tusianze kuweza kuweka pesa huku chini? Hao watoto wakitoka watoke na nguvu, wakijua hichi kitu tunaelekea sehemu ambayo ni nzuri. Asante sana.
Razo. Vida Razo.
Thank you, Honorable Speaker. Waziri, my question is on the issues of unfinished studies. It has taken, like Marsabit and others you have indicated, they have taken inordinately long time, 7 years, 6 years. And once you have closed out those facilities, the people who would have used those stadia, they don't have even space to play football or any other sports. I think in the realm of time, would you have a sort of time frame that by this time we'll be able to finish these works? The other issue also on that is the issue of regional centers of excellence. I find that you are biting more than you can chew, because you have too many projects ongoing, and yet you could focus on having, for this region, maybe something in Isiolo for Upper Eastern, for example, or for Northeastern, you have something in Garissa, so that the few shillings that are available to you, you focus and finish a project. Maybe your comments, Waziri. Thank you, Mr. Speaker.
CS, let him respond to those 5, then we take another round.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Mr. Speaker, I think for my senior Honorable Karoli, I think he's reiterating the position as it is, considering that he's a member of the committee. Mr. Speaker, so far I am not aware of any plans to wind up Kenya Academy of Sports and ADAC. In fact, ADAC is impossible to wind up, the anti-doping agency, Mr. Speaker, because it's a requirement of international agency. For us to operate as a country sports facilities, we must be very careful how we treat ADAC. And therefore, for ADAC, I am very sure about that. For the Kenya Academy of Sports, though it may be possible that there might be a conversation between that and the Sports Kenya, I am not aware at the moment that that has been progressed beyond just basic proposals. The issue we have a problem with is to have a very important grassroots agency having zero money. It's unbelievable, unfathomable, that at the moment we don't even have money to pay their salaries, let alone to carry out any project. So for that reason, Mr. Speaker, I will continue. We have had this conversation with Treasury, and I want the support of the committee and the House, the National Assembly, Mr. Speaker, to make sure that these resources are reinstated to run these very important agencies. As I said, Mr. Speaker, unfortunately, a ministry like this and others I know that deal directly with human development are rarely supported, Mr. Speaker, with the resources that they have. Luckily, the Sports Fund has been able to support activities that are being done by various sports agencies. But we need to ask ourselves, in terms of development, and unfortunately also Sports Fund cannot pay for salaries and emoluments it is not allowed to be used to pay for salaries and emoluments of agencies. So we are now in a situation where we ask ourselves why you could have an agency having zero. I plead on behalf of these agencies that we get your support. We have already had this conversation with Treasury, and I believe that when the proposal comes here for supplementary, this will be restored. In terms, the majority leader has asked a very important question, and it is a problem that we are grappling with as a ministry. The question is, once you hand over these facilities to county governments, what happens, Mr. Speaker, if they do not maintain? First, Mr. Speaker, that's why I said there has to be a conversation with Council of Government.
It is not if, it is when. They are never maintained, so there's no if.
Mr. Speaker, let me give the counties a benefit of doubt because, and I'm saying this because
very few.
So far Homa Bay County is doing very well with their stadium, which they built themselves. And it's, Mr. Speaker, fairly being well maintained. And the Deputy Speaker is saying it's because of a woman. I don't think that's the reason only. Mr. Speaker, the thing I would like to say is that the MOU we are going to sign, that's why Wangoru has not been handed over, is because that MOU must capture all those issues. Mr. Speaker, the fear also that you develop as national government a facility and hand over to county. Then sometimes another county government will come, or a governor who is petty, and the national government or leadership of national government want to have a function there, the members of parliament or whoever. Then they say, oh yeah, it cannot be approved because they have political difference with MP X or Y. So that MOU will have to provide all those mechanisms, Mr. Speaker, of how this relationship will be established, considering the investment that has been done by national government. That is the most important thing we are going to have with that MOU. And as I said, Mr. Speaker, that's why it is nice progressively that these studies are owned by private entities so that they do not have consideration of this type of issues. Mr. Speaker, on the question of Honorable Mayaka asked something about the team that was stuck and protested in our offices and the airport. The Speaker, we realized that the team wanted to travel 6 days before the tournament. And there is nothing, Mr. Speaker, to go and prepare for Kabaddi when you are competing. So we had requested them that they travel at least 2 days before to have time to recover and then to play, and so that we can save the costs. We communicated that to their federations and they were well aware, but you know, sometimes when people want just to raise their voice a little bit, they do certain things that may not be desirable. And the federation said that they did not instruct their players to do what they did. And we thought that was an act of indiscipline, but nevertheless, we continue supporting them, and they are now out of the country participating in the tournament. Mr. Speaker, Honorable Zamzam has talked about the FKF elections. When we got to office, one of the things I promised during vetting here in this house is that I was going to do everything possible to make sure that they do elections in the first place. So I'm happy we have an elections day. Now, we have the elections board, which is part of the regulations of FKF law. Mr. Speaker, I am going to have a meeting with the board to see if we can lend them neutral facilities, government facilities to operate their elections from, and whether we can also find ways of supporting them technically with IEBC so that the elections is as transparent as possible. That's the conversation we are having. And the stakeholders are busy now, the candidates are busy campaigning. Our desire is to deliver credible elections. We know that it is not government per se that is in charge of the elections, but our oversight responsibility and the Office of the Registrar is working very hard to make sure that that independence is achieved. We really want a properly working in FKF that has the credibility and the confidence of the stakeholders so that football can reach the stature that the people of Kenya want it to reach. And so that I promise that I will make sure that we deal with that. On the grassroots football support, again, apart from the Kenya Academy of Sports not having resources to deal with these academies in different places, the rest, you know, sports is private. Let's put it there first. Sports is a private venture. It's like business. If we look at it from a business perspective, until the day you are coming to compete on behalf of your country, the rest is a private business, and we must see it as business. And we want to support it the way we support other businesses, MSMEs and all that, you know, as a country. That's why we must have multiple ways of achieving it. The best entities, grassroots entities for developing sports is schools. That is why we want to sit down with the Ministry of Sports to make sure that the schools provide opportunity for nurturing talent. The rest of club football should outrightly be private. They should raise resources. They should run their footballs very well, have funding and take advertisements and all other mechanisms. But when it comes to nurturing, if we focus on schools alone, no part of Kenya will be left out. But if we focus on building a place where that training will only happen, few places can be constructed in the country. Schools all over the world, and I say this recently when we were having a NOC review of the Paris. In the US, I was told, and a statistic which I still have, the US universities contributed 3,000 athletes who went to compete in Olympics. Universities. While our universities in Kenya do not contribute even one. We have a problem of transiting from primary, it's okay. Secondary, even when we fund it from using sports fund, they produce the best sports people. After high school, we have very few athletes that are competing that are in universities. In fact, the only sport that has managed to have that caliber of athletes is rugby. The rest, the rest of the sports, football, athletics, and so forth, we do not have proper programs that take place in our colleges and universities. Again, I promised, and we are going to do this, that in the sports policy, we must strengthen education. In fact, in other countries, the Ministry of Sports, the Department of Sports, is called the Ministry of Education and Sports, because education and sports going together makes it possible for us to develop this talent. Key among them is working with the schools for equality and equity. The other issue is raised by Honorable Raso is on the question of being strategic. That is why you see in the bigger stadia, we are just constructing one per region. The ones for 10,000, 15,000, we are focusing on regions. And you are right, in the entire Northeastern region, there is no one stadium. Out of, for example, affirmative action, we need to have one that will be used in that region, and the talent is there. And then, make sure that every region is taken care of. Before now, we can move to counties. The rest is to leave county governments and private sector to construct the rest of the stadia. And slowly, government should maybe keep 2 or 3 national government. The rest either run by counties or private sector and clubs. If we had thriving clubs like Gor Mahia, AFC, Ulinzi, Shabana, or so forth, they would buy these clubs from government, pay back to the government, and they own it, and then it would be used for sports. That's why it's important to develop the sport itself, because that sport can be able then to facilitate the infrastructure that we need. Mr. Speaker, on the Marsabit one, there was inordinate delay. I already captured that in my report. Marsabit, Kinoru, Kamareny, among others. But as I promised, this will be by the time I come back here to speak about sports again and sports infrastructure, I think the pending infrastructure will have either been commissioned to start for the ones which have not started, like Kamareny, or we should be completing and handing over Marsabit. As we speak now, our officers are on their way to Marsabit to assess how much it will cost to complete the Marsabit one. And again, technical advice from Sports Kenya to make sure that can the grass grow in that area, or we use AstroTurf, or what are we going to do in terms of those pitches? Mr. Speaker, I totally agree with the honorable member that we should not spread ourselves thin when it comes to the infrastructure. Thank you.
Good. KJ.
Mr. Speaker, I thank you. And I also want to thank Waziri Onesmus Kipchumba Murkomen for appearing here and also fielding these questions. Mr. Speaker, my questions are very direct. One, what plans does the ministry have for the people of Ngando Ward? Ngando Ward is a ward in Nairobi County which has got not a single public amenity. The only public amenity we have there is a school called Lenana School. Now, the people of Ngando Ward have traditionally been crossing the road, Ngong Road, and going to play in what we used to call poster grounds. It is on these poster grounds that the new stadium is being built. Now, two tragedies are occasioned on our people. One, the workforce that is working there is imported from elsewhere. So the people of Ngando Ward are just watching as these projects are going on. What plans does the ministry have to include our people so that they can also serve their community in the constructions of this stadium? And two, all the up-bet schools, because now is when Gando is getting its first public primary school, all the up-bet use the poster grounds as their playing field. So we do not have any fields in all of Ngando Ward, and now they're building a stadium there. The question is, what plans does the ministry have for these tens of thousands of children who have traditionally been playing in that field? Mr. Speaker, the second question is a quick one, is to ask, is the ministry aware that there are office bearers of FKF who are insisting that they shall go into the election beyond their constitutional timelines, beyond their constitutional tenures, arguing that their tenures were interrupted by the COVID pandemic? Mr. Speaker, you know, even yourself, you are a senator, and your tenure must have been interrupted. So was mine. So was the tenure of His Excellency the President Emeritus Uhuru Kenyatta. But he did not insist that he shall go beyond his constitutional tenure just because it has been interrupted by COVID. So, Mr. Speaker, I would like to know what the ministry is doing about this, because we would not want this ministry to fall captive of the federations like previous ministries have done. Thank you very much, Mr. Speaker.
Millie.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker, and thank you, CS. Mr. Speaker, I heard the CS speaking very well about the nurturing of talent. Finally, Mr. Speaker, I just wanted to know if you're still facility in Suba North for Sports Academy.
Yes, member for Tetu.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. And first of all is to congratulate the minister for assuming his new role of in the sports ministry. Mr. Speaker, I applaud the minister for his intention to complete all our incomplete stadiums. But if I got it right, he mentioned that Roringo Stadium, the only stadium of meaningful stature in Nyeri, is at 75% complete, if I heard the number right. And I don't know whether the minister has been misled or he chose to mislead the House, because it is actually very close to a forest. This stadium started in 2017, and to the best of my estimate, and I've consulted some of my colleagues on phone from Nyeri,